everyone. Welcome to another episode of Driven. Today, I've got a member of my networking group, Premier Networking Group. I've got Dan with Dancestors Genealogy here with me today. Hi, Dan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Very creative name there for your Dancestors Genealogy. Who came up with that?
Actually, my wife did. You know, we were sort of searching for a catchy name, and she just said, why don't you just put a D in front of it and make it Dancestors.
It's perfect. What is Dancestors Genealogy? We'll just start there.
All right. Well, what we mostly do for people is we research their ancestry and we put it into books for them that, you know, they can sort of share with their family. So here's an example of one here, just so you can sort of get an idea of what the end product is. So it's got lots of contemporary pictures. Then you got, you know, the old-timey pictures as you go back, census records, stories, and so forth. And we just research all of that for people. And you know, create these family heirlooms. In some cases, people have already done research, so we just take what they've done and make sure it isn't wasted and gets thrown in the trash when they get old, and we put that into a book for them. In some cases, people just say, well, can you help me get through this hump with this hardest ancestor? We just can't figure out sort of this dead-end ancestor. Mm-hmm. We'll help with that. DNA, of course, a lot's going on in that world. It's changing very fast, and so we help people take advantage of their DNA knowledge in terms of their family history. So those are the main things.
So I figure that you probably have uncovered some information before for some families that you can't tell us who they are, but is there any circumstances that you've had to break the news to people that were maybe uncomfortable or something they didn't want to hear about maybe somebody in their family that wasn't really a blood member or somebody that you found that they didn't know existed? Does that happen often?
Yeah, often in the sense probably, half the projects, something like that happens. Just in the time I've been doing this, you know, say some 30, 35 years, you know, finding somebody born out of wedlock or, you know, with DNA, finding out somebody fooled around is a little less shocking than it would have been then. You know, back then it was like, you know, divorce was still a scandal versus, you know, more commonplace today. So, and we tell people it's their books, it's their information, so they get to decide what's in it.
They can leave it out if they'd like.
Exactly. Most people choose to include it. I find people mess more with the current generation in terms of, well, that person's on the outs, or that's the ex of, you know, the son, so don't bring them up, even though the child has a different last name, and, you know, those kinds of things. But the historical stuff, most people seem willing to leave that in and live with it. I think it's almost disappointing if you don't have some scandal or some characters, some scoundrels in your past. People like that.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked.
Yeah, they may not want their spouse or their parents or their children to, you know, be defined by that nature. But once you get past to people that have already passed away, people, you know, are pretty good with that.
In terms of years, how far back have you gotten before?
So I just worked on a client where I think we got all the way into the 400s with information, but it's not like, you know, I was the first one to peel the onion. When you get back into nobility and royalty, those records are pretty well documented. And they're as documented as they're going to be. And you can follow that. The trick is can you get to those people? And that often isn't the case. You know, a lot of people, we see a lot of people do what we call name claiming in the business. I spend as much time disproving as I do proving sometimes, because what happens is people say, oh, well, we're the Nelsons, so we must be related to, like Lord Horatio Nelson is probably the most famous Nelson. Well, we're Swedish Nelsons, we're not related. You know, I had my wife's aunt had an Adams ancestry, and she said, oh, well, this Lucretia Adams was the daughter of President John Adams. Well, that was a great claim to make. Unfortunately, he didn't have any daughters. So, you know, that turned out not to be the case. So we run into that because everybody wants to, you know, somehow be tied into somebody famous.
If you could research anybody, dead or alive, their genealogy, you had open access to all of their records, who would you research?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Well, there's one story I'm most interested in, and it actually ties into my wife's family, and that's uh, really more the descendants of Benjamin Franklin. I've been
Really?
for 25 years trying to run through a scenario of figuring out how her great um, great grandfather descends from him.
Okay, what was your first car?
A 67 Mustang,
What is your dream car? If you drive any.
my dream car. Well, short of some exotic sports car, I guess if I had a dream car, I could go get one. But I've actually always thought it'd be fun because my cousin had the same 67 Mustang, but he had a 289 with a stick. And it was way more fun to drive his car than drive mine.
So you would go back to a Mustang then?
Yeah, it might be something I would do. I mean, I'm sure it'd be fun to have an Aston Martin or something like that.
Is there a movie that you can watch over and over again without getting tired of?
Yeah, the movie I probably watched over and over again the most from like back in the day was when I was a kid. My parents took us to the drive-in a couple times to see this movie. It was called How the West Was Won.
Okay, what are two of your favorite snacks?
Favorite snacks? Well, I like nuts. I didn't always eat them a lot of the time, but now they're like healthy for you.
What's your favorite nut?
Well, I like cashews, but I don't eat those very often. They aren't that particularly good for you. But pistachios, and we eat a lot of almonds.
Well, that's a good healthy snack.
Yeah.
Do you have an unhealthy snack or something?
But ice cream isn't something that you're supposed.
But that's okay. Yeah. Okay. So the ice cream.
Yeah, if you could find, sin-free ice cream, I'd be on that all the time.
Yeah. Do you have something on your bucket list?
The bucket list would be just to be able to go do, those international trips, because we've never really done that. We were raising kids, they were in sports, so.
All right, I've got two more questions for you. What do you love most about what you do?
Really, the joy in our business is making people happy. In my prior business life, obviously you tried to make your clients happy, but for everyone you made happy, somebody was unhappy, employees were unhappy, shareholder was unhappy, somebody was, always not completely thrilled. Well, in this case, we're the shareholders, and so we don't have any employees, so all we have to do is make our customers happy. So it's much easier focus, and for the most part, I would say our customers are thrilled beyond expectations. I mean, we have people, basically in tears of joy, talking about, what a uniter was for the family, 3 generations sitting on the couch, looking at the book together. Whatever words people come up with are probably the nicest words they used to thank somebody for something. And they're paying us too, but, which is a bonus, but it's just really nice to be in a business that you can make people happy.
The last question that I ask everyone is just what drives you every day to do the best that you can do for your clients. And I know you're a family man as well with a grandbaby in the house. And so what drives you every day to be the best that you can be?
Well, that's a good question in the sense that, of course, when I retired, the family sort of thought, well, in their eyes, retirement, you're totally available to do whatever. And, if you got a little hobby, that's fine. Well, then the business was, not really a big time eater when I was working because I had to work. So now as it's grown, those demands are there, and I have to be very careful to balance them because it's fun for me to do the business. There's parts of it that aren't fun, like any business. So I do have to still work on, I guess you call that the work-life balance. The nice thing is I can do this from anywhere. It basically just requires a laptop and a whole lot of other tools to be available. So I think I've done a decent job of keeping it all balanced, but I'm sure there's days that it's off balance both directions. This is our busiest time of year. Yeah, Christmas and anniversaries are the most common gift times.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And everybody, if you have any genealogy needs, ancestry needs, please contact Dan with Dancestors Genealogy. For all your insurance needs, you can contact me. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Driven, and stay driven, everybody.